Okay, guys, this is going to be my spoiler review of Tenet. Tenet, and again, this is spoilers. Whatever. I'm not gonna go beat by beat, but I'll drop some spoilers because in a film like Tenet, spoilers are what makes the film. Because going into this, I knew it was like inversion, but I really didn't know the plot. And this film is complex as ever for Christopher Nolan. He swung for the fences in Inception. He swung for the fences in Interstellar. He wanted to shoot the fences in this film because, there are complex and then they are complex. There are complex and then there are. This film's complex. And this is completely on the complex side of the spectrum. And complexity is not a negative, nor is it a positive. Complex can be either or. Inception, it's very complex, but I feel like in a good way. It's very intelligent, very much, a lot of different things going on with Inception. But Tenet is very much in the same vein. Very complex, very much you have to see this multiple times. But I feel like almost leaning almost a little bit in a negative way because I think in the inherent nature of a film, no film should really be meant to be seen multiple times. But watching this film, I just felt this is a film meant to watch, meant to think and question and analyze, and then watch it again. But I think it's almost in some ways a filmmaker's job to communicate your story in just one viewing in this film. Not fails to do that, but very much leaves a lot of doors open because I think of the unanswered questions that are meant to be unanswered. And the idea, I don't think the problem is I can't say that there's any logic problems with this film as far as, continuity or anything like that because I still don't understand the logic. To create logic problems, there has to be some logic you understand. And so I think, as far as the inversion part of it, the inversion part of it, I chose to, the inversion part. I don't think you're supposed to look that hard into. There's normally what's normally going on, and then there's the inversion part of it, and that was very clever. And there's a lot of clever stuff, and I think I love the great callbacks of where it's like you see a cat talking about how her events in what was it Vietnam and how she saw someone escape and dive into the water, and you see later on that was her, and you're like, that's interesting. And I think I love those callbacks, and also seeing the people that the protagonist, because they don't really name the main character, so he's like the protagonist and Neil. They fought their future selves, which is interesting. And I think, again, like I said with the inversion stuff, you just gotta go with it. You gotta go with the fact that some certain people can go back in time and invert things. Where it's not. I think my takeaway of that is it's not time travel, in the traditional sense, where there's the machine that you can go back in time, but even when you go back in time, the things are still inverting. So you can never, I guess, truly go back in time and just fix things. You can the worst you can do is just go to a certain time and then it will start to reverse. But the inversion sequences are great. It was very clever, very unique, but I think, again, like I said, with films that you don't fully understand, it just becomes visual noise. But this wasn't one of them because I think I understood what was going on. I understood about the algorithm. I understood about this guy, and I understood about him having cancer and just wanting to take the world down with him. It's just the details, the inner workings of the story, of yeah, but there was very ambitious, very grand in scope and style. But again, we come back to and saying is that this is a film I have to sit on because I really do want to rewatch it and start to fully get a full picture of what is Inception about. Because I think but yeah, I understood like this idea of you know these weapons and are being sent, or bombs are being sent inverted back to the past because their creator doesn't want them to be used in the future. And so, and our what's his face, Sala, and our main character and our villain, uh oh shoot, I forgot what the villain's name was, but yeah, the villain, Tenet, 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 or the villain who got his hands on the weapon. I guess his whole logic is if I can't have it, no one can, or Seder, but Seder's again logic is that if I can't live, you can't live, and I think what I love is that is very much emulated earlier on in the film where he says, Kat asks, his husband, her husband, Seder, why, if you don't love me, then why do I have to stay? And his answer was, if I can't have you, no one can. That logic. So I think it never feels like that, like mustache twirling villain. Well, and the idea of, oh, if I can't have this, no one can. Ha ha ha. Is somewhat, a mustache twirling villain. I think what makes it less of that, ideologies. That's his outlook, not just on life, but on everything. So it's not like on a maniacal scale. It could just be on simply, if I can't have that book, then I don't want anybody to have that book. Or if I can't have this girl, then I don't want anybody to have this girl. Or, you know what I mean? So I think that was kind of made it, back to the centerpiece. But I think again the ending was great, where it's like you had that big scale inverted war scene, and I think that was interesting, where it's like half of it's going backwards. But I think what I didn't get about that is like the set and the location of the war scene was being inverted also. But what I didn't get is what I always didn't get was, okay, so there's a group not going inverted, and then there's a group going inverted. So for the example of the group not going inverted, it seemed like from their point of view they still saw the stuff being inverted. So I guess, I don't know, I just think that was, I don't know. I think there was still, again, plenty of stuff left for interpretation, but that was crazy. When, at the end, when Neil was like, who's, the protagonist was like, who sent you here? And Neil's like, you from the future. And I was like, what? And then it turns out, like, Neil died, and he was going back to, in battle, die, I think, because of the backpack sleeve. That was the same sleeve of a guy who sacrificed himself for the protagonist. My favorite part was the big inverted fight in the warehouse. Right after they crashed the plane, which was also a cool sequence. I love the behind the scenes feature where they show the actual plane crashing. That was pretty cool. But seeing what's it called? The inverted fight, where it's where it's the protagonist going against another soldier, and the after, as soon as the plane sequence ends, and they're in like the art room, and they're in the hallway, and you see the scene of the trailer. It's like, what happened here? What happened here hasn't happened yet. And then the whole inverted scene. But what's so cool is, like, you see that, and what's so cool is it takes what a normal fist fight would be, but it's backwards. But what made it even more special was later in the film they showed you the exact same fight, but regular. So it's like at the beginning you see it inverted, going backwards, but here you see it normally, and that was crazy. And what added that extra twist that extra twist was this idea of they're fighting their future selves, which was also kind of cool. But I always, got worried, and sort of came to fruition that some parts, specifically going back to the plane crash. It felt like that was more in service to a cool action sequence idea than a story narrative. Because I still don't fully know why they went back to the plane crash sequence. I think it was like to get good medical attention on Kat, but it just seemed to be like in service of like finding an excuse to show that it was the protagonist they were fighting, and to show that same fight normal speed, which was like but it was a great sequence, you know. And I watched a video explaining the meaning of Tenet. And what was very clever is Tenet is 10-10. Where I love it is and I think that plays dividends at that final act where, you know, one group is inverted and the other group's normal, but yet they both have a 10-minute time span. So one group is going from 0 to 10, and the other group is going from 10 to 0, in the sense where it's like the normal group is going from, they have 10 minutes and they have to get to 0, and this one's going from 0 minutes to 10 minutes. And this idea of 10, but yet if you read it from this other side, 10. I always got that it was like, almost like, I always, from hearing Tenet, obviously, you know that, no, you don't, you could just have common sense to realize it's 10, or not 10, that's reading backwards or forwards, it's Tenet. But what was made it even clever is you could have said dad or mom or whatever, but what was crazy about here was it was 10, and then on this side 10. So that was very clever and very exciting. What else? I just really enjoyed this film. But again, it's so complex and almost leading in that negative side where I have to watch it again to fully wrap around my feelings and total knowledge of what was going on. Because again, like, I like that whole opening sequence. Again, I think the inversion stuff I'm just gonna go with in that sense where but I think like this big, okay, let me go through the big stuff that confused me. Okay, because there's big stuff that confused me. Number one, how the whole stuff about that final battle in the future, like a lot of stuff there. From like, it seemed like the normal people who were not inverted could see what was going on inverted, to Neil apparently dying and then coming back to the past. The whole Neil being sent by the protagonist, and yet, you know, the incentive of him maybe getting killed, to again, like early on in the film, the protagonist went back to the car chase to give him the algorithm, but yet faked it, but yet went back in time, but didn't end up doing anything, or so again, that was a little bit, you know, confusing there, and was, I don't know, I think there was stuff that were not, and again, this is neither negative or positive, because again, this film, I just think inherently is a film you have to rewatch and rewatch, and so I think the ride was fun. The ride was interesting, but do I fully understand it? Totally honestly, I don't really. Again, I understand the basic of the story, the basic of the plot. It's the inversion logic that I don't get, because I said, like, early on in my review, I'm like, I don't know if there's any logic holes or continuity issues, because I don't know the continuity, I don't know the logic. So that was the biggest problem, is I really want to fully understand Tenet, and I want to understand the stuff about revolving the idea of inversion, revolving the idea of sending things into the past. Because I got the plot of per se, you know, of all the stuff about the husband and the characters and whatnot. But what I think I halted to me realizing what was how the inversion stuff worked. Now it was my first time back in theaters, so I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? And it was great being back, and it was very safe. We were like the only ones there, but what was odd enough was there was like another. It was me and my father, but then there was like two other people here in the theater who came toward the beginning of the film. But it was weird. Okay, me and my there's two people here and me and my father, and two other people joined, and that wasn't worrying me because two people joined. So it was like, okay, they could sit anywhere in the theater, okay, anywhere in the theater, and then they sat right above us, which again was weird because like why you could sit anywhere in the theater, anywhere in the theater, and granted we were right in the middle, but you could have sat 2 rows ahead of us, you could sat 2 rows behind us, you could sat anywhere you wanted, and they chose literally right in front of us. So. But again, it was very, being that we were like practically, there was four, like, you can count the number of people here in that four. There was literally me. Basically, it was empty. Basically, empty, and then two other people I didn't know. That was literally, it was 4 people in the theater. So, and then the Dune teaser. Oh my god. I've read books before, then watched the movie, and was like, "Oh my god, this is great!" Seeing the the book being adapted into a film, but this was special. Seeing the Dune teaser, because the Dune teaser was because like that same day I read the stuff about Paul putting his hand in the box to see if he was a human, and the Reverend Mother and all that stuff. But seeing that scene brought to life the same exact day, you read that scene in a book for the first time. So I've officially seen 3 different interpretations of it, of that scene. Well, I mean, granted, it wasn't the full scene, but it was like clips of it. But I've, seen a variation of that scene 3 times. I've seen it in the 1984 film that I still haven't finished yet. Then I've obviously read it in the book, and then, is dominated heavily, or present heavily in the teaser. But, oh my god, I'm stoked for Dune. And the Dune cast is legendary. And September 9th, this Wednesday, apparently they're dropping a full trailer. And this teaser was still great. It was more, again, like, in a teaser like this, yes, it was a teaser trailer for the trailer. But it was interesting because it was like it was more shots, more frames and stuff. But I have to go. I really enjoyed Tenet, but like I said, I will need to rewatch it.